Sheldon, my dude, my man, another great episode of The Challenge. Very competition heavy episode. Less house drama, no club scene, just lots of competition for you. What'd you think?
Do you know what? It's been kind of refreshing to have back-to-back just classic challenge episodes where, you have the full challenge and then you have an elimination at the end. You get some of the politicking in between. I like it. It's been good. Classic challenge episodes. I'm down with that. I've enjoyed them a lot.
Classic challenge episodes and classic You Killed It move. We should say our names and do the introductions because we almost always forget. I'm John Chidley Hill.
And as always, I am Sheldon Alexander.
And this is You Killed It, the podcast about the challenge, the best show on television, if we're being honest.
It really is the best show on television. And here's the thing, right? Like last week's episode, and if you hadn't checked out last week's podcast where we fully went down maybe one of the best episodes in the history of the challenge, we completely broke that down last week. So if you haven't checked out that episode, find out wherever you're listening to this podcast, and then just scroll a little, and you'll find last week's breakdown.
Yeah,
but
just take a little walk.
Right? Coming off last week's episode, it was so interesting because there's so many comments, different people, taking different sides. You have a lot of people that are Bananas fans, so they were kind of, I don't know if it's upset that he was gone, but maybe they were shocked that he was gone so soon. There's a lot of talk about whether it was bullying or not that took place with Kaylee leaving the show. Just so much going on with the show. And then just a mastermind of Devin and Tony continuing to give zero fucks this season and just like make big time moves, which continued into this episode.
It's Tony time.
It really is, though. It really, really is. So this episode, I guess, picked up where last one ended, and we get a little pool time, and Devin's feeling himself. He's super excited. He's skinny dipping.
Yeah, dicks out for Devin.
Yes. What a time to be alive, I guess, if you're Devin, right? You're feeling yourself. This is probably the height of Devin's appearances so far on the challenge, for sure, right?
Oh, for sure. This is a high.
Devin, it's funny, too, because I guess he should enjoy it, and it was interesting to me how this episode played out, which, of course, we'll get into, but I think I have a conspiracy theory here that maybe Devin played out this episode in a certain way where it would take a bit of the heat off of himself. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
I have conspiracy theories, too, in relation to Devin.
Okay. Do we just want to go right now?
Yeah, we don't have to tease our listeners that much. We could just dive right in.
You go first. Go ahead.
So he really put an emphasis on the teams that he picked and how he set things up for others to fail and for him to succeed. Mm-hmm. And notably, he had a team that had Zach, Tony, Brittany, Natalie, and who's the fifth member? Cam. No, Cam was on the team.
No. It was Tony, Zach, Nicole.
Yes, Nicole, Natalie, and Brittany. And he was talking about how his team, which was him and Brad and Nelson and Kayla and Cam, he felt they were designed to win. And then the team that he really thought he had put out of commission was Cara Maria, Kyle,
Leroy, and
Jemmy. And he was really proud of himself. And I actually, so here's what I'm getting to, this long-winded way. I think he actually was trying to set up Zach and Tony for success.
Yeah.
And yeah. I don't know if that's what you were going to drive at, but just the way, spoilers, that Zach and Tony in the Troika spoke about him, they're like, Devin did a good job last night, and like moved on. I'm like, really? Like, you're not going to come after a guy who just made a power move and in theory tried to screw you guys in how he selected the teams. I don't want to go so far as to say that he's in an alliance with them, but I felt like he had a worked out deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, the deal went back to getting Bananas out of the house, right? Like, they all needed to be on board to try to get Bananas out of the house. And so you could definitely see a scenario in which Devin, Zach, and Tony would all be on the same side in terms of, okay, well, going forward, we got your back because you did us a solid in getting Bananas out of the house and playing like a major role in getting Bananas out of the house, right? Mm-hmm. To get back to the teams, and the interesting part that we've seen throughout the season and how they put these teams together is they'll put strong people together, but they'll also put them with people on their team that in case they lose, okay, well, it's obvious who we're going to put in if we lose. Mm-hmm. So while the plan might have been to have that team of Leroy, Kara, Kyle, and Jemmy, the plan might have been, okay, cool, that is the weakest team. You could still see by the way that Devin made his team of Nelson, Kayla, Brad. Like, he has Brad on his team. Yeah. Right? Like, I still don't think that Brad is someone that either Tony or Zach or even Devin himself see them working with, right? I don't think they want to be working with Brad. And even Nelson, him and Nelson are cool, but you could tell Nelson's probably at the bottom of the totem pole in who if you're Devin, who you're going to trust. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I kind of think it was an easy play to where, okay, well, I'm going to keep Zach and Tony together because I know that they're boys. Because if you're really trying to make them not win, you would have split them up.
And also, right? I think that part of that plan, if there was a plan, but we both seem to notice it, I think part of it is that they have Devin on that team. So when it comes to voting, Devin has power within who they're voting to put up, right?
For sure. Most definitely. Right? Like, he knows that, okay, well, our team lost. And he kind of touched on it after the actual challenge with Nelson, right? He kind of touched on it and said, well, you know what? It's not worst case scenario because we can still put in whoever we want. Right? I mean, Nelson didn't really work out the same way for Nelson, really, but the framework is still there anyways for what Devin, we think, was trying to do. But what did you think of this challenge to begin with here? Because there's a lot of other things going on, a lot of side things going on that would come up later on in the episode, right?
Yeah.
And this whole Nelson and Natalie thing, like, we see them having a conversation continuing off of what happened last week where I guess they're significant others, and we use that term loosely in terms of within the house, right? Their significant others of Kaylee and Johnny Bananas are both gone, and so now it appeared as if they were going to team up, and Natalie is, maybe jumping another bandwagon and making more friends, as we've been talking about for the entire season. But what did you make of that conversation with Nelson and Natalie before we get into the challenge?
I mean, I found it a little confusing. I think that Natalie, you're right, is like looking for allies, and she's still in Big Brother mode where you're trying to make everyone think that you're an ally, whereas in the challenge you don't do that. In the challenge, you have your squad and that's it.
Yeah.
But that said, it was I've never seen these two speak to each other, and now they're talking like they're best friends, at least for this half.
Yeah.
And of the episode, and I feel bad for Nelson, who's so easily misled. Like,
yeah, poor Nelson.
Poor Nelson. Guy. It's so easy. Like, a girl just has to bat her eyelashes at him, and he's just like, oh, she's my ride or die. We have a real connection. We're friends.
And like, it sucks too, because in this situation with Natalie, like, man, her batting her eyes can do a lot of power. I'm like, yo, man, I'm watching it, and I'm watching their conversation, and I'm just like, man, here goes Natalie again, making more moves, just making more allies. And I'm just like, what the hell? And then they show her confessional, and I'm like, damn. Like, sorry, what'd you say, Natalie? Yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
But I just,
Like, it's
go ahead.
poor Nelson for sure. But in this instance, I'm just like, oh man, I'm there with you, Nelson. I'm there with you. She bats those puppy dog eyes, and I'm just like, okay, Natalie, yep, okay.
Oh, this is gonna bug me. But there's a movie, bear with me, starring Meg Ryan and what's his face, Ben Stiller, where they're both like hung up on their exes, and both decide to stalk their exes, and then they end up stalking their exes together. And then they
I have no idea.
hold on. I'm sorry, listeners. You can hear my computer right now because I'm googling it right now. God, there's a lot of stuff about Meg Ryan. I'm gonna work on this, but
Well, that's okay, because here's the thing, right? Like, Natalie again is at it, and it's just so funny how, like, you know, she's talking on the one hand about, because I was kind of confused about, did she really care about Johnny Bananas? Because there's one confessional where her eyes appear to be watering, right? Where she's kind of like, Johnny didn't even care about me. He didn't even say anything to me in front of everyone in the house, and blah, blah, blah. And as her eyes are watering, I'm thinking, like, hold on. Is there a possibility here that Natalie actually kind of cared about Johnny Bananas and she was just kind of misled about their relationship? Or am I just being mesmerized by Natalie again?
no, I think that there was, I don't want to say feelings. I think it's more that her trust was betrayed. That
okay.
he didn't care enough to to even pull her aside and like try to clear the air.
Yeah.
Like, he really did not give a fuck about her.
Yeah.
At least the way he acted, which lends credence to all the ideas that it was a showmance to begin with. But she, I think, was just super hurt that he was so disrespectful to her as a friend, even. And that's a point that Cara Maria made, right? Like, even as a friend, you're not speaking to her, you're not clearing the air, you're not, looking out for her in any way.
Yeah, it was a super weird way that it all played out for Natalie, and she will become, it appears, another central an episode in which she's a central character in this episode, right? And another central character in this episode happened to be Natalie's teammate in this challenge, and it's Nicole, where we get what normally happens with the challenge, where they kind of give us a little teaser, let's say, in terms of what a storyline will be for this upcoming episode, and we find out it's Nicole's birthday, and she seems kind of sad because she's thinking about Laurel, and we find out that her and Laurel actually dated for 10 months after that season of Invasion ended, and obviously we know, because they've shown us the teasers, that Laurel is going to show up in this episode as one of the mercenaries. Mm-hmm. But with this whole thing, John, my question for you is, are you a Laurel fan? Like, were you looking forward to Laurel's appearance on the show? And my next question, which I think I know the answer to, but for the listener's sake, in their breakup, were you Team Laurel or Team Nicole?
I was excited to have Laurel back, although it was such like, the mercenaries are only there for like 3 hours. Like,
yeah,
it's cool to see them, and it's cool to see her compete because she's a beast. But also, like, in terms of house drama, I know Nicole had a big reaction, but it wasn't like, again, it's only 3 hours, and Laurel's like busy down, kicking ass and taking names, right?
Yeah.
So, it was good, but it could have been better. And
that's fair.
And I'm gonna assume that I'm Team Laurel. I don't actually know the circumstances of their breakup. Like, I know
Well,
that Laurel was really hurt and angry and that Nicole was immature, but that's also, like, I think if listeners go way, way back and listen to the episode of You Killed It, where their relationship began, we talked about how immature they both were in the relationship, and that it's very much like a high school romance, and that, that boded poorly for their long-term success. So, I don't actually know who's to blame, but I prefer Laurel as a person to Nicole.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm definitely Team Laurel for sure. I love Laurel. Laurel is one of my favorite characters by far on the show. The Nicole thing I never really understood, but it was fun. It made for entertaining television during that season of Invasions. So yeah, anytime Laurel's back, I'm cool with. The whole thing too, when they kind of touched on it, I was wondering if we would find out what actually happened in their relationship. And I mean, we'll get to this at the end of this episode, which they did at the end of the episode of the challenge. But it seems that Nicole must have done something. And I tried to do a little internet deep dive before we started to see, what I could dig up online in terms of, do we know for sure that Nicole cheated on Laurel, or if it was something like that happening? I couldn't really find out. So if any of our viewers or listeners, pardon me, have any info, as always, hit us up in the comment section and we'll bring it up next week. But, it kind of seemed like a thing. Like it affected Nicole. She was a little rattled. It put a damper on her birthday, let's say.
Yeah.
But what didn't put a damper on her birthday was this challenge, because she kind of seemed, her team did all right in this challenge, Her team of, again, so basically, let's get into this challenge, right? So they called it, This Land Is My Land, and essentially you had to take these, what do they call them? Pallets?
Pallets.
Yeah. And you had to you're split into 3 teams. However you decided to use your people is how you decided to use your people, but basically you needed team members to bring the pallets to other team members, right? Stack them up, and then the next part of your team would have to then bring them all the way to the end, where you'd have another person on your team stack the pallets on top of each other high enough so that you could climb on top and raise your flag. So as we broke down earlier, right? Devin, after knocking out Johnny Bananas, Devin got to be, he got to pick the teams. He used that for his grenade, right?
Yeah.
So first team was Nelson, Kayla, Brad, Cam, and Devin. The second team was Nicole, Natalie, Zach, Tony, and Brittany. And then the third team was Leroy, Cara, Kyle, and Jemmy. So Kyle at first is not happy because he feels as if his team was being set up to lose. Because not only do they have one less person, but when you look at how the other teams were formed, I guess overall people would assume that Jemmy is the weakest person in terms of gameplay. And so Jemmy being on their team with one less person, they kind of looked at a huge disadvantage going in. Did you think it was a disadvantage when you first saw the teams?
I thought it was a huge disadvantage to only have 4 people. Just because it was such a physical challenge. Like, who's going, like, it helps so much to have 2 people carrying things so you can, like, rest the person. And this comes up, actually, in the competition. The green team, which featured Zach and Tony, and the ultimate winners, they used Zach and Tony to carry the pallets the longest part. And what they were doing is that Zach would carry a pallet, and you had to stay within a certain distance of your partner.
Oh, no. That's not how it went down, actually. It was just Tony was just stacking.
Okay, but who was running with Zach, or was Zach alone?
No one. Zach was alone. So their strategy was actually, so this was the thing, right? Each team kind of had to have a different strategy. So because of the way that, if you look at Devin's team, right? Devin's team decided to have 2 people, which were Brad and Nelson, run the longest distance with the pallet, right?
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to get to, was that cost them.
So, Well, so Jemmy and Kara did the same thing, but Nelson at one point picked up on the fact that what they should have done was their mistake was trying to carry the pallet together. Whereas if you just had one person doing it, which Kyle seemed to dominate and Zach seemed to dominate, they were both carrying it by themselves. Now, the other part that Zach and Tony's team did better was they just eliminated Brittany completely. Brittany didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Brittany was basically just on the side with Tony, just cheerleading the entire time, right? You didn't really see her. And I think that's what really messed up Devin's team. The fact that now Nelson and Brad, basically, once you are carrying it with someone else, it's almost like that other person is giving you an excuse to slack. Because if that other person is slow, then you're going to slow down too. Do you know what I mean? If that other person is faster, but it's a difficult challenge. Whereas if you're Kyle, you're just going to go at your own pace. You're just going to go, right? Whereas having that extra person in terms of Nelson and Brad, that kind of really messed them up, I think.
Well, I also think that part of the problem with Nelson and Brad was that Brad got gassed out, and if you're not, to your point, setting your own pace, it's hard to keep. Even if someone's making you go slower, it kind of wears you down because you're wasting steps to stay with them.
For sure.
And
for sure,
that was their biggest issue, was that they got bogged down on that every single time. And Brad also looked bad here. Like, Brad got totally gassed out. And I used to work in a warehouse, and I will say pallets are deceiving because they're not that heavy, but they're super awkward. They're very difficult to, like, you can carry one and you're like, oh, this is no problem. But then the next one you'll carry will, like, one of the boards will come loose, so it's like shaking and falling apart. And it was windy on that beach, and they can catch wind really easily.
Yeah.
So suddenly it's like trying to drag a parachute behind you. So that would be tough.
The other thing too, though, when you're doing it with someone else, right? Like, the way that you're carrying it is super awkward, and you're going to be slower than just a strategy that you saw Tony and Kyle use, where they could basically just put it on their back, and now they're just running forward, right? Like, it's a lot harder to run holding something with one hand with another person, right? Because it's just, as you just mentioned, it's so awkward in shape, but also now you're holding it with one hand. Is the other person holding it as much as you're holding it? Are they holding it as high as you're holding it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As well as just how weird it is to walk with something along your side, right? Like, you're just not going to be as fast.
Yeah, you can't move as quickly.
Yeah, so I think that was a major problem with the strategy there. And the other part we kind of left out was the first group of people, right, that were in charge of getting the pallets. The first group on each team, you could either use your own pallets or you could steal from the other team. And I wonder if Kayla and Cam kind of exerted way too much energy stealing the other teams, especially because both teams went after Kara and Jemmy's team, right?
Yeah.
And took their pallets. I wonder if they exerted too much energy doing that, and it kind of maybe had the reverse outcome or reaction to Kara and them. You know, like, maybe it just motivated Kara and them, like, fired them up a little. Well, Kara, because she was doing most of the carrying, right? But do you know what I mean? I wonder if it, like, had a reverse reaction, and instead of, like, making them mad or angry or disturbed, like, it kind of motivated Kara a little more, and she was fired up, right? She wasn't happy that both teams were taking from them.
She was really fired up. At first I thought that she was going to be so shook that she wouldn't be effective. But no, I think you're right. I think that it just fired Kara up. I thought it really got her going.
Yeah. And what about Kyle, man? Kyle put up a big performance as well. Were you surprised by what Kyle was able to do?
Yeah, but, you know, sometimes the most efficient engines are just alcohol fueled. He had that skinny man strength. I mean, in fairness, as a skinny man, he is actually in pretty good shape. But it was funny that even, like, Kara was ragging on him. Like, all he does is, like, drink and eat sugar, and yet here he is digging deep. But I think it's exactly what you said, that he got to set his own pace. right?
Yeah.
That he got to move at his own pace, and I think that because the rest of the machine was so efficient, he got downtime.
Yeah.
Right? So like, yeah, he had to like sprint all the way down there by himself, but then I think he could walk back.
Yeah. And to further that point, right? At one point, while Devin is doing some great commentary of this challenge, Devin points out that basically Kara and Kyle are single-handedly beating Brad and Nelson, and then Kayla and Cam. So, that's what I mean. Like, the extra person might have been a disadvantage here. And, the strength in Jemmy, again, and she talked about it when she was on our podcast a couple of weeks ago, right? And I know we get called out. It's funny, every single week on the Reddit page we get called out for being biased, which I had a long conversation with one of my friends about this. I was like, how are you not going to be biased? Like, this isn't journalism. Like, you're either going to like people or you're not going to like people. Like, that's essentially what this whole thing is, no? Like, I don't know how you're not going to be biased. But anyways, I was going to say, Jemmy, as much as people rag on Jemmy, sometimes, I think you've said this before, John, the smartest thing you can do is knowing your own strengths and weaknesses, right? So in this case, if Jemmy knows that, hey, I can't keep up with Kara, should she be struggling like Nelson and Brad are trying to carry this whole thing?
No.
Or should she know that, hey, Kara's a beast. Kara wants to just grab this thing and run. My job is just to run beside her so that we don't get the time penalty. To me, I think that is just knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses and saying, hey, cool, I'll just keep up with you, Kara. Let me know how I can help you. And same thing with what the Zach and Tony's team did with Brittany, right? Just, okay, Brittany, just stay here. You don't need to do anything. We'll take care of this. We'll handle this. Yeah. To me, genius moves.
Yeah, and you didn't hear anyone on Jemmy's team complaining about her performance.
Well, Leroy was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Leroy at one point was yelling, "Run, Jemmy, run!" Right? There's some curse words in there too, but it's just Leroy being Leroy.
Yeah,
I guess in that sense, because he's fired up.
That's just Leroy. That's fine. I'm curious, as a producer, what did you think of this visually, though?
This whole episode, to me, like both of the challenges, the way that they were cut, it was very heavily edited. And
yes,
the reason why, I think, because we noticed too, and I didn't miss it at all, but there was no Inquisition in this episode, right? And not that it was needed, because most of the time the Inquisition is a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the biggest focus so far that we've had of the Inquisitions have been like what people are wearing for the most part, right? Like, nothing really happens. We're just seeing what people are wearing and how much wine, I guess, people are drinking at these dinners, right? But it's not really that big of a difference, or big of a deal, sorry. But noticing the Inquisition not being there, it's because both of these challenges obviously took a lot of time, right? Like, there were 45 of these pallets. So for them to bring up 45 of these things in the hot sun, that's gonna take a while. So it was very heavily edited. And then if we go to the eliminations, we also could tell that those were both heavily edited. So I think like there was a lot of work done in post in this entire episode. And as a producer, I'm looking at it and thinking, man, like that would have been really hard to put together this episode. Like, really hard.
Yeah.
There's so much going into it. And again, you'd have so much tape. You know that they do this with multiple cameras, so that's just so much more footage you got to then go through and figure out. And then also, you have different people, like everyone's mic'd up, but there's so many different angles to what's going on. Like, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to tell the story, right, of what happened. And telling the story of what happened goes further than just, okay, well, this team won. You also want to see, oh, well, this team was in the lead, and then they gave up the lead. Oh, these two guys are struggling. How do we show that? Oh, Kyle decided to do really well. Kyle did really well at this point. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these little bits and pieces that you want to make sure you get in while also telling the greater story. And so with all this footage, I could see that being a huge, huge edit. But that's just my opinion.
And difficult to coordinate as well, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of footage, a lot of different audio files that you have to put together. And a lot of things you have to go through because, as we mentioned, Devin did a good job in narrating, right? Like as it's happening, you got to kind of find that and put those pieces together, right? So yeah, hat tip definitely to producers and editors for how they put together this episode. Because how long would you think that whole thing took?
I bet it was the competition itself was at least an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
Like, let's say it takes a minute to move each one of those pallets from, like, point A to point B. That's 45 minutes.
For sure.
Like, right off the hop. And also, they were running in sand, which sucks.
Yes.
Like, that wasn't really emphasized, but running back and forth in sand is exhausting. Like, it becomes a full-body thing.
It once. Yeah, I think Kayla mentioned it once, and it's so true, right? Because we're talking about how difficult it was just to carry the pallets, but then add in the fact that you're doing this in sand and the hot-ass sun. Yeah, this was a difficult challenge, a very hard challenge that on the surface didn't look hard. Like, if you're just looking at it, like, it doesn't look like it's that hard. But when you break it down and break down all the different elements of it, definitely a difficult challenge, and one where strategy was obviously important as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, as we have already alluded to, Zach, Tony, Brittany, Natalie, and Nicole, they won pretty handily too. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't especially close. And then it comes down to a race between Devin's team and Leroy's team. Leroy's team of Leroy, Kyle, Kara, and Jemmy beat out Devin's team. And so that means that Devin's team has to vote amongst themselves for a man and a woman to go directly into competition because it's a double elimination.
Yes, it is.
And this is an important point, the winning team, with Zach and Tony, etc., they have to choose who amongst the five of them is going to go into the Troika. And I really liked how off the top, Zach and Tony are just like, oh, well, last time you were looking out for me, so I'm going to go ahead and put you in. And another one was like, yeah, I'll put you in too. So they're just like...
Yeah, like, how is everyone else in their group just letting that slide? I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, but...
Right? Like,
they did.
Why couldn't it have been... Like, I understand that... Okay, I understand that Zach put in mega work in this challenge, right? So, cool. I get why Zach's in. But why couldn't it have been, like, Zach, Natalie, and Nicole?
Yeah.
Right? Or Zach, Natalie, and Brittany. Like, there's more girls on the team, right? Like, why couldn't it have been two of the girls and Zach? Like, that was so weird to me that they're just kind of letting these guys continuously run the game, right? And I get it from Natalie's point of view because, okay, well, Bananas is gone and she's just trying to find an alliance or find some, some people to side with now that Bananas is gone, right? Totally understand that and get that. Brittany did put up, Brittany, in theory, played it well, right? Like, Brittany tried to say, hey, I want to go in, but I want to make a deal with you guys, that if I don't go in, then, hey, at least tell me that I'm safe. And I think that was a good plan by Brittany, right?
Yeah.
And Nicole, I guess Nicole is just like, well, I know I'm good because she's cool with Tony. So from everyone involved, I kind of understand all their angles. But I guess in the end, Brittany shouldn't have been so trustworthy.
No, she shouldn't have been. And also, I don't understand how people like Zach and Tony are in the Troika like every week at this point.
Exactly.
So I don't...
Which we called out a long time ago, right?
And I don't understand... I mean, it kind of speaks to their charisma and their performances, but it's amazing how people are just like, yeah. I mean, Brittany even said, like, yeah, we're gonna let you guys be in the Troika. And I like that Zach was later like, let us be in the Troika.
Yes. So true, right? And like, literally, I wrote down, one of the things I wrote down was, wait a second, where is Brittany? Like in the middle of them doing the challenge, I was like, "Where is Brittany?" I hadn't even seen her. I think they showed like one shot of her like cheering, and even that was a flashback of when Zach was debating and talking about how she did nothing during the challenge, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, Zach and Tony continue to run it. Which, if you're a listener to You Killed It, we called this weeks and weeks ago that these guys are running the house, and our theory at the time was that was the reason why they didn't show that 1 week of them picking the teams, right? Because it would have been too many weeks in a row of those guys winning and completely running the game.
Yeah.
And so our theory was that if you look ahead, they probably continue to run the show, so they didn't want to show it that early.
Yeah. I have to back up what you're saying. I looked up the stats, and there have been 8 troikas.
Mm-hmm.
Tony has been in 5 of them, and Zach has been in 3 of them. But every time Zach is in it, Tony's also in it.
Ah.
So 3 of Tony's 5 troika appearances are with Zach.
Interesting. Right? So they're basically dominating, and the losing team ends up voting in right away. They turn and they make the votes to send Brad in and Cam in.
Yes.
Right? So Brad and Cam are automatically voted into the elimination, and the Troika meets, which ends up being, as we said, Zach, Tony, and Natalie. And this is where things get kind of interesting, because it's a first sign we see of Natalie so quickly turning on Nelson and allowing them to put Nelson into one of the 3 slots that they have to choose, right?
Yep.
So Natalie apparently is just there for show, because Zach and Tony basically call all the shots, and automatically Natalie has to go against her I guess, lack of a better term, alliances or allegiances in this case, Nelson and Brittany. And Nelson and Brittany are both people that are selected. What did you make of this whole thing? And did you miss the what was the
Inquisition?
What did they call the Inquisition? Yeah, see, I couldn't even remember what it was called because it was so forgettable.
At this point, I
didn't miss it at all.
I don't miss it at all. It's the thing with the Inquisition is that at this point we know where all the chips lie. Like, yes, it was good early in the season.
So why waste time?
Yeah, it was good early in the season because it gave us an indication of what was going on in the house. But now, with fewer people in the house, it's pretty clear who's where and who's going to do what. So that, like, it's going to be harder as a viewer to get blindsided.
Yeah.
So I don't miss the Inquisition. And I'm going to defend Natalie here.
Okay.
At the end of the day, she's only one voice of 3. Like, if it comes down to a vote within the Troika meeting room, the Zach and Tony can just say Nelson, and it's 2-1. Exactly. And that's basically what Zach said to her. He's like, we can vote for this. We're going to vote for Nelson. Sorry. Like, this.
And I think Nelson knew that too.
Yeah,
right? Like,
he didn't seem
when
super
Natalie
pissed.
comes out. Yeah, when Natalie comes out and hugs him, like, he has a big smile on his face. He's upset, but not really that upset. You know what I mean? So he kind of understands exactly what happened, because he was in that position as well, right? Where he just wanted to put someone's name in just because. I think it was Kara that he wanted to just put in, right?
Yeah. I think within the Troika, the thing, if you find yourself in the Troika, that the thing you have to keep in mind is that you basically can't keep someone not, like, you can't prevent someone from being nominated, but you can go in with nominating someone in mind. Right?
Definitely.
Like, you can push, like, I want this person in, and you can make that happen, but you can't be like, no, under no circumstances can this person go in. Like, you can't play defense in the Troika.
No, for sure. Next thing that came up that was a really big deal. What did you make of them turning on Brittany? Do you think that was cool? Do you think that was just part of the game? Or do you think it was wrong of them to make a deal with her, say they're not going to put her in, and then completely just flip on that and put her in?
I think it was fine. I think they should have. No, you know what? Because the thing is, I know that both Tony and Zach, and they had a great like split screen where they both committed to Brittany that they would give her a heads up if she was going to get voted in. But also,
and Zach is like so blatantly lying too.
Oh yeah, Zach's not a great liar. But the other thing is, if they had given her the heads up, then you have a night of Brad flipping out.
And exactly, a night of both of them flipping out. That is true.
So like,
very true.
It's shady, but also it was predictable, and you know that we always say this: if you're in an obvious alliance, as Brad and Brittany are, because they are lovers, then you're gonna try to take them both out as often as you can.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what happened.
It was super interesting, though. So after they announced like the 3 people that are going in, which isn't really that important because we knew who they were going to send in just from how the Troika meeting went. Mm-hmm. The 3 people on each side, it was Nelson, Leroy, and Kyle, and then Cara, Brittany, and Jemmye. Brittany obviously isn't happy, and Brad is trying to like talk her down. And the funny thing was, did you notice Brad's eyes bulging out of his head while he's talking to her? Like, he was making sense and telling her to calm down, but it was kind of weird because he's saying calm down while at the same time his eyes are just like bulging out of his head. He looked so crazy. It was so weird.
That's just his face, though.
No, I feel like it was like almost on like it was hyped up, or like the volume on his eyes bulge was turned up a little more. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it just looked so crazy to me.
I mean, I was gonna say that I think that Brad would look that crazy just ordering a slice of pizza, but I think it's already been proven that Brad's very intense about pizza. So yeah. I just think that's his face. Like, I think if you were talking about the weather, his eyes would be bulging out. Like, I think he's just an intense dude.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that is his resting face.
Speaking of intense, though, right? And I don't really want to spend that much time on this other than to say I find it super annoying. But the Kyle and Cara relationship, like, I don't like every episode for the past 2 or 3 at least. We've been getting the random cutaway where, despite them not being in any sort of trouble, we get this cutaway of Cara and Kyle sitting there huddled up by themselves, just being like, "Oh no, I wonder what's gonna happen. I hope I'm okay." But when they're not in any danger at all, and it's just like such a waste of a conversation. And this one is just even more annoying because he's talking about how he doesn't want to see her go, and what did he say? He'd get a tattoo of her name, but he doesn't even know her name. He calls her Cara Marie, right? Like, and just like, get out of here with all this. Like, I'm not entertained, but I don't know.
And we got a glimpse into their sex life where he said that sex with her is like a fight because she scratches him so much.
Yeah, I mean, hey, people are into whatever they're into, but that's kind of, that's a bit much for me, I'll say. It's a bit much for me. I'll say that and move on.
I know that earlier this episode, I pointed out how Laurel and Nicole are like a high school couple. Cara Marie and Kyle are like a camp couple. Where they're just like all over each other and always like going into the woods together and talking about how no one understands them. And yes, dear listener, I said Cara Marie on purpose because that's my style humor.
Well played. So we get to this double elimination, right?
Yes.
And this was another great elimination, I thought, right? They had the ring, and first off, with it being a double elimination, that means there was a chance here that we could see 4 people go home.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a huge purge. And I have another conspiracy theory here, which we'll get into a little bit later. Remind me about that. I think I wrote it down, but I hope I don't forget. Conspiracy theory about this elimination, this double elimination. But anyways, there's a huge ring, and you're attached by a bungee cord, and you essentially had to run around the ring and then run and grab your pole and ring the bell faster than the other person would get around the ring and touch their bell, right?
Yeah.
So they get the surprise of the mercenaries are back. And this time, again, I wish the mercenary thing, like, I understand why they promote it, because, you know, you're trying to get new viewers in that might have watched prior seasons. And so if you see, oh, Laurel, oh, Frank's on this episode, you're more likely to tune in if you weren't already watching. But I just feel like the payoff, if we didn't know this was going to happen, would be so much better, right? Like, I don't know what the balance is there, John, but what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like there's a lot of hype, and then they're not there for long, and it's not like a big impact. And furthermore, like, it was, I know they're sort of going for a reveal like they did with Invasion of the Champions, which was kind of awesome how that worked out because they were in the house. But, like, the mercenaries aren't there that long, and I feel like each crew of mercenaries has had someone who wasn't as strong a competitor. Like, Frank is not really in Darrell's level.
See, which was my conspiracy theory here.
Yeah.
Which is my conspiracy theory. I think that they couldn't, like, you could lose 4 people, but I don't really think that they want to lose. I don't think production wants to lose 4 people, right? So you kind of split up how the mercenaries worked. Like, who are the 4 mercenaries the last time?
It was...
Do I have it here? I'm scrolling through my notes here, trying to find out who the last mercenaries were, because it would have been, what, 2 episodes ago?
Yes, it was. So it was Tori, Jordan, Anissa, and...
Tori, Jordan, Anissa, and who are we forgetting?
Anissa. Derek. How could we forget Derek? Derek versus Joss.
Yes. Derek versus Joss, yeah. So here's the thing, right? Like, imagine if the 2 female competitors in this challenge would have been Anissa and Laurel in this challenge.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that would have been crazier. And that's not a knock on Ashley, because I think Ashley is a great competitor, but this is like a strength, at least off the front end, this is like a straight strength competition, right? Or imagine if, you know, again, Frank is a great competitor, but as a wise man named Meek Mill once said, free Meek Mill, by the way, there's levels to this shit, right? And there's different levels between Frank and Darrell. There's different levels between Laurel and Ashley, right? Like, and so I think it was purposely done in this way because they don't really want to lose 4 people. Well, that's just my thought. Don't know if it's true. Just my thoughts, man.
Well, first of all,
right or wrong, just how I'm feeling at the time.
First of all, I take umbrage with you quoting Meek Mill. As a Toronto guy, you are supposed to be sitting on the Drake side of the fence.
Hey, Drake and Meek Mill have patched things up. They're both okay. They've both made hip-hop lines or lyrics in recent songs in which they have patched things up and there is no longer beef. So if they're okay with each other, I'm going to be okay with Meek Mill. And as a side note, I was always down with Meek Mill because he's dope.
Second of all, I don't normally like to disagree with you when it's coming from a production angle because you are the production guy.
Not really, but okay.
How about this? You're more of a production person than I am. However, there are only... Allegedly, there's only 3 episodes of this season left.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that at all.
Apparently, it's supposed to just be a 14-episode season. And there are, I'm counting 12 people left. I think that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, there are 12 people left. That's a lot of bodies they got to get through. And, but to your point, furthermore, I don't know if you saw the buzz on Twitter last night, but
I did not.
People felt like Britney got done dirty by production. And by people, I mean other people on the show.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like, so I guess I'm going to get into this now.
Well,
but here's the thing, right? Like, first off, how is it like? It's not like they decided. Like, they flipped a coin to see who Laurel would be going against, right? And
no,
would Laurel versus.
That's not the issue.
You think they faked it?
No, the problem is that Brittany apparently was fighting Laurel to a draw, and they said you can't go to a draw. But they let...
Whoa. How?
Apparently she held on. I'm looking for it on Twitter now, but apparently it was just as long a competition between Laurel and Brittany, but that Brittany, they weren't allowed her. They kept making them restart, and they're like, no, we can't do a draw with you. Whereas, obviously, Nelson got to do a draw.
See, that's interesting. I haven't seen anything like that. And I went through, like, Laurel and Brittany's timelines, and Laurel was just very congratulatory of Brittany. Brittany was kind of just like, you know, I got kind of screwed because having to go against Laurel because she's such a beast. You know, I didn't really see anything of her complaining about how the actual challenge went down. So I don't know where that came from, but I did see Cara Maria says Brittany held it down for multiple rounds. She was not beat in one round like it was shown. She held best she could and was told she would not be allowed. Oh, sorry. You're right here. It was Cara Maria said this. Yeah. So Cara Maria says Brittany held it down for multiple rounds. She was not beat in one round like it was shown. She held best as she could, but was told she would not be allowed what Nelson had. No more stalemates. She got screwed.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's what Cara Maria says.
And Jemmy said, I don't like to tell production how to do their job, but why wasn't it set up for the mercenaries to call out who they wanted, and then in brackets, so then production could tell the mercenaries who they wanted against each other? Darrell versus Brad and Cam versus Laurel would have been emoji, fire, missed opportunities. And Laurel said,
I don't like that. I don't like that point by Jemmy at all. I think that's terrible. Because why should it be opened up to Laurel to pick out Cam over Ashley? Like, I think what it really should have been, if you're going to open it up like that, they should be able to pick anybody that's available.
Well,
right?
To that point,
that would have been better.
To that point, Laurel said, wouldn't it have been even more awesome if I could have picked who I was going against? I know exactly who I would choose. To which Cara Maria replied, no shit, Laurel. This. You would beat me in anything physical. No shit. In other news, the sky is blue and you are still a bitter, mean bitch.
Ooh. So here's the thing that I don't understand. I mean, if that's the case and that's what Cara is saying, I don't understand like why it went down like that. Like, that doesn't really, I'm so confused about that. Like, I don't know. I got to give Brittany credit though too, because Brittany didn't really seem to complain about this.
No.
Right? Like, Cara's the one that says Nelly held it for 10 rounds and was allowed a stalemate. Brittany was told she was not allowed a stalemate no matter how long she held it for. What more could she have done? Raw deal. Fought her sexy ass off until the end. Here's my question though. So it says Nelson held it for 10 rounds, right?
Yeah.
Which we were shown that 2 rounds equaled an hour.
Yeah.
Right? So who knows how long like each thing was. What I want to know, and again, I don't know the answer to this, were the times, because the way that it appeared to me when they said, okay, we're going to call this a draw between Nelson and Darrell, to me it seemed like they just came up with that on the fly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like it was a rule that they had like set up already. Like, okay, well, if this is going for way too long, then we have to just call it. So if Brittany, like, what was the order? Did Brittany go before Nelson? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how it was taped as opposed to how it was shown.
That's a good question, and maybe
Do you
it's
know what I
that
mean?
Darrell and Nelson took so long that
Exactly.
they had
That
to.
after that, they were like, there's no way. Because here's the thing, right? And if this is the case, which I don't know, but to put the producer hat on, right? You're on a production schedule, right? And this is going to be the annoying part that sounds kind of lame and cheesy, but this is just a reality of the industry, right? So you're on a production schedule because you're on a budget. So you have to finish your shoot. You only have like a allotted amount of time that you have to be able to do the shooting. So if it's 3 hours and that's how much time you have to film this entire elimination, you got to be done in that 3 hours because you got crews that are probably unionized that have to have a mandated amount of time to take a break. They have to have a mandated time that their day's over before they can start shooting the next day, before you have to pay them even more money for turnaround pay. Like, there's all these little things that, like, you have to deal with on a production set that, like, watching a TV show you'd have no idea about, right? So if they were filming this challenge, and again, I'd love for someone on the show that was there to, like, let us know if we're wrong about this, but if they're filming it and the Nelson versus Darrell one takes an hour, and then they're like, okay, well, we're just going to call this a draw. And then the Brittany one is going on, and Brittany's holding on for a long time, and they just keep telling them, you know what, we're not going to give you another draw because maybe you've seen that's what the strategy was, and now you're just trying to hold on for the draw, and they don't really want that part to happen, right?
Yeah.
So they're now telling you, no, you guys got to keep going because there's not going to be another draw. Or if it went the other way around, and let's say the Brittany one took so long and they said there's no draws, right? But then they started filming the Nelson one, and now they're running out of time, so they don't have time to hold on, to force it to end. So they had to just end it at a draw. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did that make sense? Am I explaining that correctly?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Because I know sometimes I start rambling, and I don't know if I'm making sense as much as it makes sense in my head. But basically, you have an allotted amount of time that you need to complete this challenge in. So regardless of which order, like, my thought reading this, my initial thought would be, okay, so they did the Brittany one first. They don't want them to have they don't want them to keep going on and on and on and on and on. So they tell Brittany there's no ties. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. And then eventually Laurel wins. But maybe you're starting to run out of time when you're filming the Nelson side of it. And then you have to just call a draw. Because again, there's nothing worse on a day's production than you can't go into overtime. That costs you thousands and thousands of dollars depending on the setup, depending on what you have planned for the next day, because there's a thing that's called, in some industries, in some shoots, that's called turnaround pay, which means you have to have at least 12 hours in between when you finish a shoot one day and then when you have the crew start again the following day. Right? So there's all these other things that come into play with production. So that's the only explanation I can come up with as to why something like that would happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was optimally done. And I believe Cara Maria, because, like, why would she lie? That Brittany didn't get a fair shake.
Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. And I definitely wonder what the explanation would be. I also find it kind of weird that Brittany, I don't see anywhere Brittany complaining about it. Like, she says thanks to Cara for saying that and bringing it up. But I don't see anywhere where Brittany is openly complaining about what happened. So I don't know if she's just being a good sport about it all or what happened. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very interesting. And here's the other side of it too, right? This Cara versus Laurel thing, there's a lot of bad blood, let's say. So I wouldn't put it past Cara to be a little salty, just in general, to bring down Queen Laurel, right? Because there's another conversation here that happened. I know you were just talking about what Laurel did, and why can't I go to her Twitter page now? I had it saved. But there's another thing here where they had a little back and forth, and it was because I'm trying to find it here, and now I'm scrolling, and I can't find it because I had to go to Laurel's. Oh, here we go. So, Cara tweeted, "This is why MMA has weight classes for this kind of shit. Not fair at all." Right?
Yeah.
Which, that sounds like hate to me, but hey, that's just an outsider's opinion, right? So another fan just wrote, "This isn't MMA." They quote tweeted Cara, by the way, and said, "This isn't MMA, it's a challenge. No one was saying not fair when Derek went against Josh. Oh wait, Derek won, so size doesn't matter at all. It seems like the females are always the ones to point out size in an elimination. Laurel is a beast regardless of her size." And for the record, this was sent by someone named Shania. So it was interesting to get a female fan's point of view of all this. But then Laurel comments on this and says, "Cara tweets something like that every time because she doesn't respect me, and that's why I enjoy pummeling her ass into the ground every time in everything."
Woo! Oh.
I love Laurel. Laurel's amazing. But this whole thing, what do you make of this whole drama surrounding this elimination?
I don't think it's necessary to have this much drama.
Oh, okay.
It makes for good television. Don't get me wrong. It's great television.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean in terms of like how they're behaving in real life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand the excitement. Like, I'm not an emotional person, whereas, like, I don't like to be that outwardly emotional, but Nicole's reaction as soon as she saw Laurel, where she was crying and needed to be consoled, I'm like, Laurel just is doing her job, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's just and, like, maybe we missed something, but I didn't see Laurel do anything like outwardly to like antagonize Nicole. And then I thought it was nice that Laurel went over to like say hi,
to talk to her.
Yeah, and like,
which was one of the most interesting conversations ever, right? Because like Laurel goes over to say hi, and they're sort of standing there, and you can tell they turn the audio down, so you can't hear what they're saying at first. Right?
Yeah.
But then Nicole says, "I'm sorry." Laurel appears to say, "I forgive you," but I have suspicions that I think that was kind of edited and might have been taken out of context, but I don't know. That's just me being suspicious. But Laurel says, "I forgive you," and Nicole says, "If you really loved me, you would have done more to make us work." And I was just like, whoa, okay. That's a massive bomb to drop and to like leave in the television show with no context at all. But and like, what does that even mean? But Laurel just calmly says, "Well, I just wanted to say good luck," and gives her a hug and leaves. I'm like, wait, what? That's all they're gonna tell us? Like, and again, I love the show for the juice. That is juicy. I'm here for all of this.
Yeah, but it's like I liked that Laurel did that, but like we need more information. Like Cara's clearly, like Cara, as I read out just minutes ago, said that Laurel's still a bitter bitch. That wasn't the behavior of a bitter person.
Yeah, they have beef though. Like, remember their breakup was really bad, right? Like, they were really good friends, and then that whole biz with Nicole went down. Remember during that season, all that stuff went down with Nicole. But Nicole really liked Cara, and she didn't. And Laura was kind of like always felt like she was a secondary prize. Remember, like, and Laurel really was upset about that. And who knows what that transitioned to outside of the show, but they were really good friends at one point, and then not friends at all after that. And I think that kind of reality element, like, remember Marie was talking about how the challenge was so different before, and now you have people that come on and it's really like they're here to put on a TV show, right? And I kind of feel like the Laurel, seeing the Twitter stuff kind of makes me, yearn for that era of the challenge more, where like this was just real people, like, because it kind of has that real world element, right? Where it's like you're dealing with the real people, dealing with real situations in real relationships, and it's not just all okay, I'm Johnny Bananas trying to put myself on TV,
Yeah.
and I'm going to have a fake relationship with Natalie. Or it's not just, okay, Tony and Zach are really running this game, and they're just going to sit in the background and win challenges. Like, I need more of the drama and the politicking and all that. So I was okay with it.
Yeah, I just want more background. That's what I want.
No, that's true.
I want
leave
that
it to our
juice.
listeners. I'm sure our listeners will be able to dig up some stuff for us, and I'll also end up doing some internet deep dives and seeing what I can come up with in terms of that. But yeah, there's a lot there, and maybe, and this is wishful thinking, a dream come true, and maybe we'll get Laurel on the podcast. We'll try to figure out a way to get that. We'll get our You Killed It Army to message Laurel and beg her to come on the podcast, and we'll get the lowdown. Who knows? Maybe that's a thing.
Well, Laurel does follow me on Twitter, so
hey, that's a start.
it's a start.
It's a start.
She's a fellow Aries, so we have the same sign, the same astral signs. We've got that going for us.
Okay.
You don't
Well,
sound
the thing
reassured,
too-
Sheldon.
No. I'm hey, a wise man named Kevin Garnett once said, "Anything is possible," right?
Yes.
I don't know. The other thing about this whole narrative, which again, I don't know if it's true about, why wasn't Brittany allowed to have a draw when Nelson was given a draw? Like, again, they never really said that Brittany's against Laurel was as long as Darrell versus Nelson, right? Like, that was never stated
No.
by anyone. Like, they just said that she wasn't allowed to have a draw, which, okay, cool, but did it go even remotely as long as Nelson versus Darrell? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That to me is like the key, the biggest factor in the information flow here that Kara decided to conveniently leave out. But yes, internet peeps, do your thing, and we'll figure that all out. But did anything else really stand out to you from that elimination other than Nelson holding on against Darrell, who's just continues to be an absolute beast? And
Yeah.
I mean, Brad and Cam win,
I thought-
but I wasn't really that surprised that Cam won.
I wasn't that surprised that Brad won.
See, I thought Brad was going to gas out.
But Brad is so big. Like, to me, that
True.
elimination if it is a fast one, like a fast round, it comes all
Yes,
down
it
to
favors
size.
Definitely, you're right there. Totally right there. I agree with you.
And the other thing that I wanted to say was that when they finally called it a draw, Darrell just like got up and walked back. He's like, "Yeah, I'm cool with a draw," and like Nelson was dead. Like, I think Nelson was legally dead for a while. Like, he's just like crumpled. And I loved what Devin said. You can't beat Darrell with a squeal.
Yeah, Nelson just making these noises.
But like, that just speaks volumes. That like Darrell was fine. Darrell was just like,
Well, Darrell was like, I didn't lose. I'm good with a draw.
yeah, I'm fine with a draw. I still get paid. And like, just walked away and was fine. And Nelson was just like, had to be carried away like Russell Crowe at the end of Gladiator. Like, he was
So
done. I gotta ask you though, who killed it for you this week?
I have a very controversial take here.
Ooh,
John.
I love it.
Laurel is killed it for me.
Ooh.
Laurel is my You Killed It MVP of this episode. She wasn't here. She was here for a good time, not a long time. And I enjoyed each and every second of it. Okay? Laurel is an absolute beast. I love the fact that she comes in and her confessional is just like, first off, the way that they edited it together and like TJ's reaction when they flip the coin.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, Cam gets Ashley and Brittany, I'm sorry. And everyone just starts laughing. Like, that was amazing. That's why TJ is such a good host of the show for moments like that, because it's what everybody was thinking, right? But then you get Laurel's confessional and she says, quote, I take no fucking prisoners. I picture annihilation. So get the fuck out of the house. I was like, yes. Laurel is, as I said, one of my favorite characters on this show because she is an absolute beast. And yes, I compare her to LeBron because she just physically dominates her opponents at every chance she gets. It's not even close. She's not angry about it. It's like that LeBron season when he was in Miami and after they lost to Dallas, and then the next season it was just beast mode LeBron. You can't stop him. That's Laurel every time she steps on this show. And yeah, great performance from Laurel. She, in that quick time she was there, she gave a little like kickback to a little showmance, which is a little bit of what happens on the challenge that we like. She gave a dominating performance once again in an elimination. And hey, she gave us some great confessionals. That is great, solid work. I guess to keep the basketball analogies going, her PPR was very high in this episode, right? She wasn't here for a long time, but she ticked off a lot of boxes. Laurel, you killed it for me. And who could beat Laurel?
No one.
Right? All these other people are just scared of Laurel anyways. That's why Kara is once again going to be a Twitter gangster against her because she's scared as well. I like it. Cool.
For me, speaking of just going into beast mode, the person who, for me, killed it this week was Zach. I know we've said Zach's name a few times, but you can't deny he basically won that competition for his team.
Yeah.
And then he's just making the savvy moves in terms of the political game. Like, I like that we didn't really talk about this scene, but I like that he rolled up to talk to Cara Maria and Kyle. And he's like, yeah, I think we're going to nominate Brittany. Like, I think that's the play. And he's just, like, kind of running it past them. And then he nominates Cara Maria, too. Like,
yes.
He and Tony are just giving zero fucks. But it was Zach that really got it done this week. So, for me, Zach killed it. And I think we can all agree at this point. We've said this before, and I've seen there's some debate online, like on Twitter and on Facebook and in Reddit. But like, Zach's got to be the favorite to win.
Yeah, I would assume so. It seems like the other thing too, right? Because not only is he winning the challenges, but he's keeping out of the drama. Like, it's not like anyone can say really that Zach is like, disrespecting anyone in the house or starting any fights or issues within the house. Like, he's basically keeping to himself, and everything's about gameplay. So even when, they're having the Troika meeting and Natalie says, oh, but we gave our word, and they're like, yeah, but we gave Bananas our word too. Like, it's all gameplay, right? And I think everyone will respect that. And I don't know if the other side has enough numbers to turn on him yet.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe with the grenades that come up, because, next week Cam and Brad have grenades. What do they do with those grenades? Do they plan? Because a smart move, I think, like if they team up, which I don't know if they would do, but the smart move might be to use your grenades together.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So imagine if, like, forget about making the teams, but imagine, which I don't remember if that's one of the things, but imagine if you tie up both Tony and Zach, right? So they both kind of struggle, and you guarantee that they don't win the next challenge, right? Like, is that a move you make? I don't know.
But you know what?
It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see.
I don't see anyone gunning for Tony or Zach. Like, all the confessional talk was like, Nelson's coming at Natalie, and like, I guess Brad is pissed with Tony and Zach, but
he has no numbers.
Yeah, he has no numbers, and I feel like Brad is easily distracted. And I really think that, like, with Brad, if you just, like, whoever pisses him off that day is who he's going for.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm still in on this season, totally. I would love to see what happens. I wish Laurel could stay a little longer, but my other thing I wanted to bring up about Laurel, and I know I apologize for keep going back to Laurel. Who could have beaten her? Like, do you think they plotted this out where they were hoping that Laurel would be going against either Nicole or Cara in this elimination?
Oh, yeah.
right? Like that would have been amazing, right? That would have been the dream scenario for the producers.
Yeah, I think Nicole and Cara are both very dominant physically. I'm not sure they can beat Laurel though.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I
don't
think it'd be a
anyone could
great
beat
contest, but I don't think they could.
Was it who actually beat Laurel? Like she lost one elimination ever, and that was to Camilla.
To Camilla, but that's because
In
she
that,
was
like,
distracted.
difficult-
Like Laurel
that
basically
ropes
gave
course
up.
thing, right?
Sorry?
It was that ropes course thing, right? Where you had to like untangle the rope in like that apparatus or whatever.
Yeah. I would say that
Yeah.
Laurel lost, Camilla didn't win. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, shade, shade, shade. That one person in the Reddit chat group that like has Camilla as their as their avatar. That person's gonna be like, they're so biased. They hate Camilla.
You know what?
Yeah, deal with it.
If people want to say I'm biased towards Camilla, so be it.
Facts, super facts.
I'm at peace with that. I will say not to end You Killed It on a sour note, but I don't actually think we're that biased.
I'm going to mention Laurel. We can't end on a sour note because I'll mention Laurel one more time, anyways.
I honestly don't think we're that biased. Like I've seen some comments on Reddit along those same lines.
No, it's the same person over and
Oh,
over.
is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same person over and over again.
But
which is fun.
Yeah, it's fine. I think we're actually pretty fair. Like even outside of Camilla, who like, sorry guys, we're gonna take a stand against racism.
No, but my thing is, I don't even care about being fair. Like, I'm talking about what I like and what I dislike, and what I like on the show, what I dislike about the show. Like, I'm not here to be fair. Like, I'm not trying to be fair. I'm just trying to talk about what I like. And there's some people that I like, and there's some people that I dislike. It's a reality TV show, right? Like, what are we talking about?
I also think that outside of that, like, you're absolutely right. But I also think that we're pretty fair to everyone. Like, I feel like even someone who we generally dislike, like Johnny Bananas, like, we also give him a lot of props.
Yeah, like, he is the champ of the show. Like, he is the man of the show. He is, like, the empire is somewhat built on the back of Johnny Bananas, and he's great on social media, and he, is great for the brand and all of that, and he's a good game player.
But our opinions change over time, right? Like,
yeah, and I feel like we admit when we're wrong.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong on something, I'll be like, I was wrong about that.
We have changed our opinions on Nelson as an example.
Yes, very true. Very true.
I mean, I think
and Tony
too. Like, I would say that we're less annoyed by them and perhaps pity Nelson more, but
yeah,
still,
like, I'm rooting for Nelson. I want Nelson to like succeed on some level because I'm really feeling bad for him because he just keeps getting like disrespected.
Yeah, he does. I feel bad for him. I don't want him to win. I want other people to win, but I feel bad for him.
To be honest, I don't know who I want to win this season. I'm enjoying it a lot, but I don't know who wants to win this season, who I want to win this season, but I can say that, like, Zach and Tony so far deserve to win.
Yeah, Zach and Tony deserve to win. Yeah. Oh, that's tough. I haven't even really considered that.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm going to think on that, and we will come back to it. Well, I'm not going to be on the next episode of You Killed It, am I?
I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm not sure. I haven't figured that out yet, but yeah, we'll come up with something. Yes.
But until... people can get us on Twitter. I'm at J. Chidley Hill.
And I am on Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. And I'm going to follow Laurel, I think, if I don't already follow her, which if I don't, that's kind of weird that I don't. Yeah. Why wouldn't I follow Laurel?
You got to fix that. And
yeah, these are the things I'm pondering right now.
From deep in the heart of Raptors country, this was You Killed It.